Hello everyone. Today we're continuing with our series on the light of the world, and this is part 3. And today let's talk about the children of light. In Ephesians 5:8 he says, "For ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of light." So Paul told the Ephesians, he said, you were sometimes darkness. He was saying you were once children of darkness. You once walked after the flesh. You were once full of darkness. You were once in the kingdom of darkness. Paul used the term you were darkness. They were not just in darkness, they were darkness. Darkness worked through them. They partook in works of darkness. They even influenced others to walk in darkness. Paul said, you were sometimes darkness, meaning that before they were saved, they were sinners. When they were blind, before they heard the gospel, before they found salvation. Paul goes on to say, now you are children of light. So the light of God now shone through them. Now their works were done in light. Their works were done to glorify God. They didn't feel like they had to hide in shame anymore because they had become the children of light. Let's talk about having a made-up mind. And in Proverbs 16:3, he said, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. So this scripture is talking about someone who has made up their mind to serve God. He's talking about a dedicated mind. He's talking about a settled heart. He's talking about a heart that is established. He's talking about a heart that is fully submitted to God. That is someone whom God can use. God will bless the works of their hands. Whatever their hands find to do, God will bless that. Whatever they do it to please God. They do it to glorify God. While others are standing still, and while others are standing idle, while others are confused about which way to go, their mind is made up about serving God. They will find a way to serve God. A person who has a made up mind is always moving forward. You finish one assignment and God will give you another. Many times, even before you finish that task, God has already given you your next assignment. Proverbs says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. So now let's talk about a double-minded man. In James 1:6, he says, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. Verse 7, for let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. Verse 8, a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Unlike the man in Proverbs 16:3 that we read about, whose thoughts were established, this man's thoughts, the thoughts of a double-minded man, are not established. His thoughts, in fact, are scattered. His thoughts are riddled with confusion. Part of him wants to serve God. Part of him wants to serve the flesh. He says he's like the wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. He is not committed to God's service. He has not died out to self. Jesus said, if a man lays his hand to the plow and looks back, he is not fit for the kingdom. When Lot's wife looked back, she became a pillar of salt. So make up your mind to serve God and to never stop serving God. He tells us that we are the salt of the earth. Jesus tells us in Matthew 5:13, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. Jesus said, you are the salt of the earth. So a Christian's word should be seasoned with salt. Their words should stir you to action. Their words will cause you to thirst. Their words will cause you to reconsider what direction you are taking in life. Jesus said, if the salt have lost its savor, meaning if the salt in your life loses its taste, if it has lost its flavor, if it becomes tasteless, if the salt in your life loses its effectiveness, if it has lost its purpose, if it becomes contaminated with this world, if a person has lost their distinction from this world, if they have lost the same, if they begin to have the same bland flavor as this world, wherewith, Jesus said, continues to say, wherewith shall it be salted? How then can they pull someone else out of the world if they have lost their savor? How can they show someone else a better way? They act just like the world themselves. All they seem to talk about is the world. Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt when she looked back. She was yearning for the worldly things that she left behind in Sodom. So we would do well to remember the things that of this life are only temporary. Jesus said, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So when our treasure is laid up in heaven, we will always be looking toward heaven.